Hi, I'm Spike Robinson. This is my co-host Monia, and we're once again doing the Culty Geek. And this week, we're looking at Buffy the Vampire Slayer, any particular episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that Monia had suggested I look at. And when you want to tell me why you would suggested this particular episode.
Yeah, so the episode I picked is from season 3, episode
Episode of
12,
12.
12, Helpless. And it is partially because it was a good standalone episode, although there are a lot of characters mentioned that go in and out. It's
Mhm.
not, they're not, I mean, no offense to those characters, but they're not fundamental to the story. Um, and so that works. And also, it covers a rite of passage that the Slayer is imposed that she doesn't even know about, because the more I've been looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this whole thing is a cult. The council is a cult. The Scooby Gang, they can't get out of that town. They're just like spiraling because they have to save the world. I mean, it's a bit more literal, obviously, but
Oh, yeah, because, well, in any good cult, you think that you are saving the world, and it is quite real. Even if
yeah,
the demons are imaginary, they're quite real.
yeah.
In fact, just as one of many, many side notes, I'm sure, I was just reading something that's popped up on Reddit now on the neckbeard forums. There's something called a wolf beard, and apparently there's a whole bunch of people who think that they're honest to God lycanthropes that is really honestly changing and
Yeah.
psychologically manipulate themselves and their loved ones into thinking that they're changing at the full of the moon.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me because I've spent a lot of time on Tumblr, so I know about kinning and all of
Mhm.
that stuff.
But it's just so unexpected to me, at least, because when I was in my group, yes, we were fighting the world. The angels and the demons were real, but nobody else could see them, and actually we couldn't see them either. We were
Yeah.
just convincing ourselves that we could see them. So is it a relief to know that other people or not? But in this one, in Buffy, it is the demons, the vamps. Do they always call them vamps, or is it just that she calls it one, or they what? Because they're a vampire,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
calls it a vamp. She says, I nearly got stabbed by a vamp. But
Yeah. Because she's hip. Lingo, this is the
so,
lingo from back then. I was thinking, I'm like, wow, it's been a while since I've heard this type of dialogue. I miss it.
is it
Uh
now? It's early 90s. Are we at? Where
no,
are
no,
we?
this is started 97, so this is 2000, must be.
Okay,
Or
okay.
99, 99, 2000, yeah.
99, 2000. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're dealing, it's so we see that Buffy is celebrating her birthday
Her
with
birthday's coming up, yeah.
mhm,
Mhm.
and she's very upset that her father is kind of ditching her for this ice show that they go to all the time.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that her watcher Giles is drugging her to make her weak. Turns out there's a vampire that she has to go fight with without any of her nifty superpower abilities.
Mhm.
And then that guy, of course, escapes, kidnaps her mother. And then there's a little bit of something very much like Silence of the Lambs, where she has to break into this house and fight this vampire and the two guys that he's also turned into vampires, or the one guy that he's turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And she basically does very cool. And I said before we started recording that if it's that easy to kill a vampire with holy water, then they should forget getting a slayer. Just get every teenage boy with a super soaker and a gallon of holy water. Because she has now this vampire. Are vampires addicted to pills or something, or was that what were the tablets that, because
Yeah.
the vampire that they were holding was addicted to these pills that he had to
Yes.
take every couple of hours. And what's that?
These were antipsychotic pills because he's like a really, really bad vampire. Like, that's the whole point, right?
Oh, yes,
And
because
he apparently, in his real life, before he became a vampire, was a serial killer. So it's like, this is like not just a vampire, it's,
Mhm.
you
And it
know,
didn't
a
seem like
lunatic.
antipsychotics. It seemed like some form of, I would almost say oxy.
Yeah, yeah.
That
But
it was
I
some
mean, that's
form
the
of opioid,
only,
because when he was off it, he was experiencing pain. And in my
yeah,
limited experience with people who do have to take antipsychotics, when they don't get their medicine, it's not physical pain they feel. They
yeah.
just start going, well, I don't need to take that medicine because the big blue crab beyond the window there is telling me I don't need to.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's just what it was described as in the
Oh, the Buffy one.
official documentation. But I think what you're
The Buffy
saying
wiki.
makes way more sense, honestly.
Yeah, because it does.
Yeah.
It felt more like it
But
was.
yeah, that was kind of slightly like, how do they diagnose a psychosis in a vampire? Like, I'm just,
The
I'm not
fact that they
sure.
think that they're a vampire anyway. Now, do average people in this world know about vampires?
No, no, no. Her mom knows because I don't remember what episode it happened
It
in, but
was a
she gets,
couple episodes before this one. I looked that up.
okay, yeah.
It was actually at the end of the second season because I looked that up. Because unlike most people, I don't care about spoilers.
I mean, it's a show that I can't really, I mean, technically speaking, this universe still is ongoing, I think, because comics came out and
Mhm.
there's like, I don't know what's going on in that. To me, that's just like a completely different,
Like the new Star Trek episodes are for me.
yeah. So I don't know whatever's going on there. But yeah, it's so interesting to me.
But I dropped what I was saying was that then Buffy hands him a glass of holy water to swallow his pills with, which kind of went, it's like he didn't feel it till it got down in his stomach, which almost made me feel like at first it was the pills that were dipped in holy water, not the glass. Because if it was holy water, wouldn't it burn as soon as it touched his lips?
But I think I think it wasn't that. I think it burned in his throat on the way down because technically speaking, nothing gets to your stomach for like 20 minutes, right? It's
I
like a
thought it
lot, it's a
was.
process.
Now we're going to have to look. I was taught in biology, but I will say that a lot of what I was taught in high school biology has then been you know,
I mean, I was taught in every diet advice, like if you eat, you must wait because you don't, it doesn't signal
oh,
something.
I was taught that liquids take only 7 minutes, but solids take longer.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, I was taught high school biology before we'd even really figured out a lot of stuff. So that, like, say,
Science is ever evolving.
the 99% of stomach ulcers we now know are formed by a bacteria, whereas back in the days when I was in school, we all knew that no bacteria could live in the stomach. Well,
Was it a thought that it was
pylori.
stress?
Yes, stress and diet.
Mm.
But Heliobacter pylori is actually the culprit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good to know, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and Heliobacter pylori actually likes it acid, so acid that it will make our stomach even more acid. But so yeah, it feels like the Scooby, which is their gang, right? The
Scooby gang.
The Scooby gang. I love that. They feel like a little bit of a cult of the Council of Watchers, where they basically, so Giles is in charge of Buffy. And at the end, they tell Giles that he's fired because his love for her is like a father. And I turned right to Wally and I just said, that doesn't make any sense. That would make him, if anything, a better watcher.
No. Because, and yeah, did I write that? Yes, I wrote down the quote. Because what he says too is like, you love her like a father, blah, blah, blah. And that is useless to the cause.
Why is it useless to the cause?
Because she's not the cause. She's irrelevant. The whole point of that test is, so the whole thing is like they do this test when the Slayer turns 18, but it's not actually explained as like when the Slayer turns 18. It's when and if the Slayer ever turns 18.
Slayer turns 18. But
yes, because it has some of them don't even make it there, and some will die in that test, and they're like, all right, well, you didn't pass it, next one. Like, they don't care.
But it's one every generation they get.
It's as soon as she dies.
Wait for another generation.
No, it's when she dies, it goes to someone else.
Okay, but it's still, to me, it still seems to me that somebody who loves her enough to protect her and yet let her develop as her own being, like a good father would be the best teacher, coach, and guardian.
No, you're thinking like healthy dynamics and stuff.
Oh, forgive me for thinking in healthy dynamics.
No. I mean, this is the whole point, right? The whole thing is like she has to not know that she's being stripped of all of her powers and then be left with, and I think that's why she even had the holy water in the first place, because she was told, which is what's breaking the rules and why Giles was fired. So she knew that she didn't have.
Find out that he's the one who's been pumping her full of this yellow liquid that's a
adrenaline something, and like
muscle relaxant. And can you block the body's adrenal glands?
I mean, I'm not sure how the Slayer thing even really technically works, because it has to do with, I went to look back into the first Slayer history and stuff like that. So it's like the spirit, the soul, and the heart of a demon is put into a human, and that's like the Slayer spirit. And I'm like, but how does that? Demon. But then how could you block that? Do you know?
Demon.
Like,
so she's not coming from an angelic, but and it seemed to me that the Council of Watchers, he had 2 of his employees just die, and he didn't even care.
Yeah, they don't care. That's why it's such a cult. It really is. But that's what's so, because I hadn't even considered that when I was like, there's Buffy episodes to watch. But now I'm like, oh my God, because they have this secret, right? And they're saving the world and all of that stuff, and the stakes are so high. But I think part of what's interesting too is that the Slayer thing that has happened to her, it has become her identity at this point in this series, right? Because she's like, I don't know who I am without
it. She's very she's very caught up in, and that's another unhealthy dynamic. You should be a healthy individual is several different things. I mean, I think we've said this before, I'm not just John's assistant running this channel and doing that. I have other things. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a budgie mom. I have lots of different things on my plate. Any healthy person should. Once you get that your whole identity is wrapped up in one thing, buddy, you're in a cult. It might just be the cult of you and your whatever, but it is still.
Yeah. And I think it's like one of those things where I hadn't even thought of the fact that it's like, this is supposed to be, and I don't think Joss Whedon thought this out that detailed, but that it's supposed to be this like, empowering thing of like, these girls have these powers and they can fight vampires, but then it's like, but they're not
female.
Yes. In every generation there is a chosen one.
I'm sorry, but that sounds like a male fantasy to me.
Well, listen. The story is awful. Is like how like the way that they talk about
who sit and drink tea while the girl goes and does her.
Oh no! Yes, no, 100%. Because the first Slayer, because he said like this has been done for dozens of centuries. So I quickly was like, so like 1,200, but there's been a Slayer since way before that. So then they have existed without this council. And then I was like, wait, I have to go back to
Okay,
research
so
this.
1,200 years. And but the vampires also, I found out from the first episode, are these creatures that were around before humanity,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So why are they scared by by a religious icon that's only been around for a little just at that point in 2,000 years? Why are they affected at all by the icon of a human religion if there's something that predates humanity?
You know what I think, and this is just me speculating, but I would say like they would never even address this in the show because you can't just attack religion like that. But I wonder if there is somehow an idea that maybe what's going on with the church is also like not necessarily entirely, on the up and up, maybe that maybe it has been imbued with, the power to go again, like somehow, because there's also multiple universes in the series and you can access.
There are.
Yeah.
So in some universe, there's vampires that are scared off by a Star of David.
Maybe I don't know. I know that there's like they meet their doppelgangers from another universe in another episode, and like there a few of them are vampires, and it's like a whole thing where they're like, what is happening? And then there's
I just thought of something though. Healthy relationships and psychologically healthy people are not nearly as exciting to watch.
I know. Well, that's partially what I've been thinking is like, our TV shows technically, not the shows themselves, but they always focus, like when there's an ensemble cast, it's kind of like, it's rare for them to show a lot of that like individual people's lives. It becomes like, no, we only exist, in this friend's apartment, like this is where we are, we will never leave, we are only in our
friends would have been though if they had all been decent people instead of the sociopaths that we know and love. Or Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, they were so evil that they actually ended in a jail cell.
I know. And I'm thinking like Grey's Anatomy, for example. I mean, it's that gosh darn hospital. They're all just at the hospital the whole time. And some die, and some, this and that, and it's all about.
Or the episode of Scrubs where they all of a sudden are in a musical.
Well, Buffy started the musical trend.
Fun fact. They had a musical? They had a musical episode?
Yes, they did. Yeah, and it's actually really, really good.
I'd have to take a look at that.
There's also.
So you feel that the Council of Watchers, how many are in the Council of Watchers? Is it just this one guy British guy in a suit that
no
on the other British guy in a suit?
The headquarters exist in England. So there's like a bunch of people, and there's Watchers in training, and this is partially the thing, right? So this Slayer coming of age is basically like, well, either you
7 billion people.
Yes. It's like you either live or you die. Like, yeah, that's it. If you die, whatever, we'll take the next one. But the Watchers also have a ritual, but that one is supervised so that no harm comes to them.
Okay, it seems to me though that still they should be actively invested in saving the Slayer, because they don't have to then retrain or seek them out. Because I can't believe that they're conveniently born somewhere in the English speaking world, rather than how do they know that the next kid isn't going to pop up in Zimbabwe or somewhere in Indonesia or Beijing or even in North Korea, where they wouldn't be able to get at her.
Well, that's not really how it works, because
how dare I throw reality into this?
No. They would have been there, presumably, because the next Slayer. So the thing is, there's the Slayer is activated once the previous Slayer dies. And a lot of times they found.
So it's not at birth. Congratulations, it's a Slayer.
No, exactly. No, it comes like a surprise, and I think it has to be around puberty, because I'm sure there's some sort of like analogy, blah blah blah. Like Ginger Snaps, which actually was really good. But that was werewolves as an analogy for like growing up and all that stuff. So the whole thing is like it's once one dies, the next one is activated. But they have figured out a way to sort of understand which ones are potential slayers, because it's not any girl. It's like specific ones are potentials. So the watchers are around there and like waiting to see in case they get activated. And Buffy actually dies twice. Yes. Yeah. Well, come on. When Angel says like, I saw you before you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about the whole Angel now. He's a former vampire.
No, he is a vampire, but he has a soul.
But he was cursed with a soul. Why do vampires normally not have souls?
Yes, that's exactly it. They don't have souls, and that's why they are just plain evil.
So like when somebody gets turned into, like say you get turned into a vampire, what happens to your soul?
It goes somewhere out there into the world.
Somewhere out there. No, okay. So,
I'm not sure about the Slayerverse logistics. The science is not clear to me. I'm more the sociology, I think, and the psychology, but not the actual science. I'm sorry.
A lot of it, I suppose that a lot of it, like any fantasy series, it's not going to make sense if you pick apart too much.
No, but so Buffy does die twice, does die in the show. She dies at the end of season 1. I don't know if you read that when you were doing your.
No, I wasn't. But
okay, yeah. So she drowns, and then they resuscitate her. So she's like, "Oh, I am alive." But she dies for long enough that a Slayer is activated in Jamaica, and she does come and.
So that's the other one, Faith.
No.
Oh no, that's another
Faith
one.
comes, yeah, because spoiler alert. The other Slayer gets killed, so then Faith is the next one in line.
Well, the thing to me is, it seems to me then that the best thing the watchers can do is clinically kill and then resuscitate a whole chain so that then they have a whole army of Slayers.
Yeah, but that's harder to control. And also, if I may say, massive spoiler alert, that's basically how the show ends, is Buffy activates all the potential Slayers so that they all are active at the same time and can so it ends with this super powerful speech about everyone who will be able to stand up, will be able to fight back, and then you see all these
and come get your super soaker filled with holy water at the door.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But it's always they have to raise the stakes every season with a more evil, right? And that at that point it's the first evil that they're trying to fight, and the evil. So she does get visited by the first Slayer a few times in that season, but she meets the first Slayer as well in season 4. But yeah, so there was someone who was, so basically she was created, is what they say in the official Buffy verse. And it's from prehistoric Africa. A young girl named Sinea was taken against her will by 3 powerful mages, the Shadow Men.
Prehistoric, 1200 years ago ain't prehistoric.
1200 years ago is when the council started this particular thing. So there has been a time before that, you know?
Okay, fair enough.
That's partially why I was like, well, then you don't have to continue it, because we know that the Slayer line actually comes.
It's just down to you don't have to Catholics. You don't have to continue to making your clergy celibate, because that's only been since the 10th century. Sorry.
Yeah, and especially with was it the Spanish scandal?
I don't know what it was. It was basically somewhere around the 10th century.
No. I was thinking about there has been a recent a very recent scandal with a priest, a quite young priest who is like very hardcore. That's not the right word for religions, but he's very hardcore religious. But he left the clergy because he fell in love with a BDSM erotica writer or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so there's like a very like, yeah, so he's like, I'm done, forget about God, and everyone is like, what just happened?
Interesting story.
So that was brought up like as well. They're like, yeah, what if they could just get married?
The minister that married me and Wally was a nun, and her husband was a priest, and they both left around at the time of Vatican II when they found out that sex wasn't necessarily a sin, and they decided they wanted to try it.
Oh.
And so their 6 kids are glad they did. She just passed on this last summer too. Wonderful woman, beautiful, gentle, kind. They stayed as they became Unitarian ministers, both of them.
I mean, what a life. Nun and then
a minister, though she still used to go to the Catholic Center and do service there.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Oh yeah, she was a lovely, lovely woman, and her husband was a great songwriter. So, but still, the idea that you can walk away. So the Slayer can never walk away.
No, and it is interesting as well because, and that is actually something that, yeah, I mean, I guess I should probably say spoilers for the entire series in this discussion. Don't like, yeah, if you're gonna, no, there's no way to avoid that because that's how the totality is like, whoa. But yeah, the whole point is when she died, she activated the next one. So technically speaking, why is she still doing it?
She could have left. Well, because her entire, it looks to me like the woman that I see in the 3rd season is so invested in her identity as the Slayer that she can't even think about going to college, dating the nice vampire that she's in love with.
Oh, that's complicated. They can't.
Why can't they? Because he's several thousand years old and she's only 18, I hope.
I mean, that's the logical reason, but no.
It's fucking creepy. Excuse me. It's creepy.
It's creepy when he looks like an adult compared to Edward Cullen. Yeah, Robert Pattinson in Twilight looks like a child compared to Angel. Like the rippling muscles. It's like, yeah. No, so they can't be together because they so this is why watching this show when you're a teenager, you're like, oh my God, this is so deep, is because you fall in love with the two of them from the beginning of the show because he's protective and like secretive and all that stuff. And it's
another trope that's very dangerous is the gruff, creepy guy who's watching you but won't tell you who he is. that is not healthy.
But she doesn't let him get away with it for she's like, what is this?
Sorry.
So I believe once they start dating and stuff like that, so what happened is at her last birthday they have sex, and then so his curse is he can never experience true happiness or he will go back to being a demon. And so the morning after her birthday, he has become a demon again because just being oh, we're in love and everything is perfect. He becomes evil again. So they can never actually be together because if he experiences happiness, his entire
why?
His soul because it needs to be torturous. It needs to be the love that cannot happen. It needs to be they hug each other and they're like,
oh God, that is so teenager not Arrested Development the show, but actual Arrested Development.
This was big, I think, for a while because the show Dark Angel that I watched had, my God, what was the thing?
That cannot be consummated. That's
Well, that show also had that, and now I can't remember why. It was like she
Setting
couldn't
up
touch him
lot of
because something.
that's setting up a lot of unhealthy dynamics. But
It's
on all
okay. He gets his own show, so he leaves
yeah,
Sunnydale.
I knew that he did get his own show.
Yeah, so he leaves Sunnydale, so it's okay. They're pretty like
Sunnydale.
yeah.
Sorry, I laughed out loud when I saw the name of the town, Sunnydale.
I know, I love it.
Anyhow, yeah, the whole thing that he is watching her, that he saw her before she became a vampire, that he's probably what, thousands of years old?
No, so he is I think he's from the 1700s or 1800s.
But he was at least an adult before he got turned.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And yet
he was like a drunken Irish guy, I think. Yeah.
And yet he's lusting after this when he first saw her 15-year-old.
I guess, yeah. 14 maybe. Yeah.
Lovely.
Because it was before she was active.
There's a YouTuber that I was going to ask you about that actually ruined his entire career, imploded because he was 19 and the girl was 15.
I don't think I even know about this. But okay.
We'll talk about it later because I was thinking we ought to look at that too at some point.
Yeah. Because
you'd probably eat it right up, being that that's it more in your wheelhouse of fandoms and such. But okay, so what else about this that you felt because you said I've got lots to talk about this, so go for it.
Yeah, well, in part it is this whole thing of like that even though it's framed as this like empowering thing that's happened, there's like the council that's watching over them and is like controlling everything and is like micro managing all that stuff. And that's not something I think would even have been part of the thought process. Like, there's a watcher, I'm here to help you. Like, why would this person then be part of something that's trying to hurt you? Like, it just like.
Yeah. Well, also the fact that it's a secret council. Their orders are ultimate, I'm assuming, so that she can't, she can say bite me to the guy, but he's just going to look at her and go, colorful girl.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, she's 18. Colorful woman, thank you.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And it was just like the way that Giles becomes, they really emphasize that he is her father figure in all of this now because their parents are divorced.
Well, they did put that forward rather poignantly when it turns out her father can't take her to the ice show and she coyly invites Giles to take her. That, you might take a daughter or a student or your slayer.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to make it feel normal that he's around all of them. Or in
every high school there is that one teacher that all the kids go to hang around. In my school, it was
skulk around graveyards with.
It was my English teacher, and he had a policy that his room was always open to anybody who wanted to come and hang out there in between classes.
Yeah.
And he had a typewriter that you could leave little notes on.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. My English teachers were pretty cool too. I had a great math teacher as well.
Really seriously. Yeah. Because teachers are supposed to be pseudo parents. I really do feel that a good teacher is a pseudo-parental figure in your life. They are there to guide you, to watch over you, and even in unfortunate cases, to take the place of parents who are not there, whether through physical or absence or merely psychological absence.
That was a that was explored really well in the show, My So-Called Life. I feel like, which was a short-lived one season.
I remember hearing about it, but I never watched it. But still, this council of watchers seems very cult-like. It seemed, and Giles, just the idea that it's for this thing that he has
he's a whistleblower, basically.
Yeah,
and
but then he actually is forced to. Also, I'm sorry, but what crystal is it that you stare into it that puts you into a trance so deep that you don't notice a needle prick in your arm? I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
I mean, these are magical crystals. You have to remember that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. The new agey days that I had kind of, oh, this crystal will clear, I went to the Dowsers convention. The International Society of Dowsers actually started here in Vermont.
How is that spelled? Because I'm seeing like D-O
WSERS.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have unfortunately now gotten into a lot of really stupid pseudoscientific stuff. And so I was at their convention, and this guy just had this plastic sheet that he was selling for $15, that then for another $20 you could buy a handful of gemstones. They were polished pebbles, and if you laid them at a certain recommended way, you could clear the energy of the entire room. And he'd put them on this little grid and say, can't you just feel the energy throughout this gymnasium clearing out? So no, it seems to be the same sweaty room with a couple other 100 people I don't want to know. I'm sorry, is that mean of me?
No, it's all right. I get that. Especially, oh man, the theatrics.
Oh yeah, I am not inclined to violence, but I nearly darn well was when one woman asked me what I did at the time. I was still working at the nursing home. And she told me that people with Alzheimer's, the only reason that they have Alzheimer's is they're not trying hard enough.
Oh, yes.
Her exact words.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who think certain things.
Yes, there are.
In a way that is like,
I mean, when the magic is in a world where the magic is real, I can almost see a reason for this stuff to go on. But at the same time, to me, it seems that they're not thinking in a very healthy. To me, I would want more than one Slayer for a planet of 7 billion people.
Yeah.
I would want the watchers to be invested like parents in that Slayer, to keep that Slayer safe. And more than one Slayer. And I would want them to be able to walk away if the life didn't suit them. Because not everybody's going to want to walk around in a dark neighborhood and stab creatures with wooden stakes. That's not everybody's cup of tea.
And in the real, the thing is as well, like Buffy is technically speaking not a very good, I mean, she's a good Slayer because she stayed alive for 5 seasons. But
sending a teenage girl out.
She doesn't follow their guidance very well. And Faith is like a completely different ball of wax. And she is actually one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. But that's because of the character arc that she goes through is just like, wow. But Kendra, the Slayer that was activated the first time Buffy died, is one that was being trained very much in the tradition of Slayer. So isolated, you've been drilled, you have been trained. You were
not healthy.
She doesn't even remember her parents. Like the only thing she knows is like, I'm a Slayer. This is my mission. She gets killed.
Culty. This is very, very culty. This is not healthy.
No.
I mean, even if vampires were a real freaking thing and we needed somebody to guard us against them, it seems to me that the best thing would be to arm our National Guard with holy water.
Maybe this means we can look at some season 4 episodes, because there is something that happens over there, something called the Institute, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. There is some sort of there is something going on where those forces are like real life forces trying to like.
Okay.
That's what I find, like it does evolve very interestingly. And in Angel, there's a law firm that jokey joke, like they have connections with like the underworld. So they're representing demons, but they're also lawyers in the real world.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Demons.
So there's like
But aren't
different
all
layers
lawyers
of
really
knowledge.
demons? No, bad Spike. No, skit.
Wait, what was that? What
I
was
said,
that?
aren't all lawyers really demons? No,
Yeah, well, that's what the joke is, right? That they're
No.
like, yeah, it's a lawyer firm, and it's called Wolf from and Heart, and it's like the book is like has a wolf, and then there's a ram, and there's a heart, and that's how they're like, holy shit, it's them. But yeah, anyway.
No, but to me, this is a fantasy trope that, and also young. I realize that because it's young people novels and things like that, but it annoys me in Harry Potter too. The world's most powerful wizard is coming. Send these 3 teenagers out against them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Teenagers are not our best, with all due respect to all people under 21 and over 13. I'm sorry, but teenagers are not our best defense against anything. They haven't had the chance to grow up. They haven't really completely developed their whole selves yet.
So you're saying all of these shows have disclaimers?
Well, I don't know. I
The
just
disclaimer is like, do not believe that this is in any way representative of.
Do not try to stab vampires at home, kids.
Yeah,
Your Aunt Spike.
I don't think that happened. I know Power Rangers caused issues. I don't remember anything.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, Voltron used to be, there was one generation of Voltron where it was teenage kids, and they were like in 25th century or something, and these young kids. But really, honestly, the brain is still putting itself together. They're still learning how to use their emotions. They're still not complete autonomous beings. That's why they're such good cult fodder in the first year of university. Because they're still discovering who they are. But that, say in Harry Potter, he's first put up and Dumbledore lets him fight Voldemort at 11.
But in Harry Potter, and this is coming from someone who is not entirely familiar with that whole story, but isn't part of the reason why he's so special is that he has part of Voldemort?
Oh, yeah.
Or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Just double check. No, I'm just.
But
something like that,
it's still.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. I'm just trying to think, like, was there like, there was like some sort of this is actually the reason, but like.
But it's like in Twilight, you got teenage characters, right? Or a teenage girl. Narnia.
Children, yeah.
Lucy.
Narnia, that really got to me. Yeah, when I was little. And you can go in the wardrobe and just like end up in a different, like, that scared me a bit more about
when I was a kid. I used to peek into every gall darn closet and hope it was Narnia.
I mean, I was very scared of my closet. Like, I remember being very scared of my closet, which is like, it's very very much a child fear.
Not my own closet. My own closet I was scared of because of that commercial for The Shining with the blood pouring out of the elevator. It
is so interesting how a closet can be so terrifying to a child, because you're like, you don't know what's, like, something could be in there. And then as an adult, you're like, well, I know that there is nothing in there because they have to get it in through the front door first. Like, unless.
I was about to say, if you've been living in the same place for 20 years, that closet is scary enough on its own just for what might come out when you try to clean it out.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, there's like, oh my God. And I feel like Narnia was part of that, because I thought it was scary because, that's a whole, anyway.
Oh no, but I was always searching for other lands. But that's why I like Discworld so much, because there is one series where a youngster is basically sent into, but she's not sent into battle. It's just that she has to rescue her brother. And they're like, no, you're too young. You can't do this. Because for the most part, it's adults doing the hardcore fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, the youngest person is Captain Carrot at 16. And even so, he's given a couple months training before he has to fight a dragon.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like
so the whole trope of let's have a teenage girl fight these creatures of the dark is just, to me, irresponsible, abusive, and yes.
Well, they chained the first Slayer and held her against her will as they were trying to, like, create, imbue her with those powers. Like, it's not a healthy situation.
Who gave them the right to do that?
Oh no, they just decided this was a good way to fight the evil peeps. And they think those are their tools, right? They're like, we're actually the leaders.
And why do they think that they're not evil?
Because in their head,
forcing them to do stuff, you're the evil one.
Daddy, chill.
We are straying away, but let's take a look at Buffy here.
Yeah, I wanted to talk in part about part of the thing.
Is it that a guy who feels the love of a father can't be a decent trainer? I would want somebody. If I were a vampire slayer, I would want my watcher to care about me.
She stays with him, like she does. This is what's interesting is like that's what I'm saying. Like she does go against the rules quite a bit, and the next watcher that joins actually, like, she's like, I don't need you, like, go away, like, essentially. So he joins the Angel show. So he leaves because she refuses to have anything to do with him. She's like, I'm sticking with Giles. Yeah. So he's fired. He's officially fired, but she's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like,
excuse me. But so she is very much under the thumb. Does she ever get out of the thumb of these watcher councils?
Kind of, because I believe the council gets blown up, like it gets attacked by demons. So like they get wiped. So like there's only Giles and like one other one left. But she is always, under the thumb of, the existence of these powers. Because it's like, even if she chose to not do it anymore, the demons can sense her and go seek her out because they're like, this is a worthy opponent, right?
Oh, so that's, you see, to me, it just seems like there were so many vampires around.
Yeah, because they want to be the ones to kill the Slayer. Like, that is a big deal.
That the whole premise of the show is that they're on this
they're on the Hellmouth. Yeah.
Hellmouth, yes.
Yeah.
And so, and that's
right into high school.
Area. Right in a
hell is high school.
Oh, hell was high school.
Exactly.
Yeah, because also the whole clique thing of being there. I don't know though. A teacher. I still don't like the crystal bit where stare into the crystal and you get in such a zonked out stage that you can't feel a needle.
No, I will say magic is very real in the show, and that is also another part that happens because Willow, I think she sort of is.
She becomes a witch. I saw that.
Yeah, she becomes a witch, and they do
a lesbian.
Yes, and they do, and I think it was like one of the first couples. Maybe not. I don't know. I feel like every show tries to claim some sort of first someone else. And I'm like, I don't know anymore. Maybe it isn't. So never mind. But they create a great analogy for addiction. So she becomes addicted to magic and and falls into that dark spiral and has to deal with the withdrawal and then all of that stuff. And they do need someone who can make magic. So it's like, how can the addict help them with magic spells without falling into the dark?
What is that model though? Why is magic addictive? Is it because she's not ready for the power? Is it because of the magic itself?
Yeah, because I think it's because of the power she can tap into. Because there's like a whole thing where she tries to quit magic. And because she starts manipulating things, and there's like a lot of stuff with her girlfriend where I think, yeah, she messes up a spell where it's like she wants her to forget the reason she's mad at her so that they can do, and it messes everything up. And then she's like, you're going too far, like you're going too deep into this stuff, like you can't keep like, trying to change things.
Because that's an abusive thing right there. You should
Yeah.
not make your partner forget why they're angry at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
talk it over.
it backfires. So everyone is like, it's basically an episode where everyone is like, doesn't know what's going on. And like, even the vampire is like, what's happening? And it's like, oh my God, what happened to my face? Like, and they're all just like, what? But yeah, so she's in trouble for that. And then there's like a really powerful witch that sort of zaps her. So it's kind of like, it ends up being, so you can use magic as sort of a drug as well, right?
Okay, let me ask you something. In a universe where magic exists and vampires are real, is cult-like behavior justified?
Well, not destructive cult behavior.
Okay, good distinction.
Yeah.
Good distinction. Because to me, it just seems like once you cross over into manipulation and non-transparency, you are kind of just as evil as the evil you're ostensibly fighting.
Mm-hmm.
How organized are the vampires in this world?
How much? What?
How organized are the vampires in this world?
They're not that organized. Many of them are just like, woo, and then they get killed, as soon as they're out of the grave. Like, they're like, hee-haw.
So there's no local bloodsuckers 412?
Not in Sunnydale. I think LA has more organization. Yeah, I think it's on purpose. It's called Sunnydale on purpose. But vampires can be organized differently. It's kind of like the same ones that orbit around. Angel and Spike are kind of nemesis, but also like, old pals. And I'm sorry Spike wasn't in this episode. No.
Yeah, I didn't see Spike, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, because so the council has so much power because so Faith is a slayer that goes bad, basically. She goes bad because she has no family and stuff like that, and so Giles is the father figure to Buffy, but Faith never feels that connection with him. So her father figure becomes a demon mayor who's trying to destroy the city and gets her to become.
So they do need family connection in order not to turn evil.
Apparently so.
But
or she gets groomed into this, right?
Forbidden from being that, then.
I mean, they're not thinking because I think Faith must have been the first one that has gone rogue, because they were like, oh dear, what's happening now? And that's the whole thing. So they have to stop her, and she's about to go into the correctional system, but they catch her first and like get her away, because they're like, oh no, we don't even want this to get into
a vampire in jail.
Well, she's not a vampire, she's a slayer, but yeah.
Oh, a slayer. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking Salem's Lot for a minute.
But so they're even interceding, in like these cases, that they're just like, no, we'll take care of it. We'll chain her up and have her, try to fix her and all that.
Yeah, I am not impressed by this Council of Watchers.
Oh no.
I was I really liked Giles. But that was because you could see his love and affection for his students.
He's a great actor too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, but then the council member that orders him about doesn't care whether or not two of his employees get killed.
No, they're replaceable. They were probably just being dumb,
How do you?
Isn't that always?
How do you even work for a council of watch in a world where you don't know that vampires exist? What does that job application look like? What does that advertisement? Handyman, absolutely not working with vampires because they don't exist, but
I think some of them are like an inherited title. Familial. which goes even more into the cult thing. Because I know that the next Watcher's dad was also a Watcher, so I wonder if that's like kind of.
Oh, so they breed. So the families that are just the henchmen, they got to breed a lot of kids. Then they got to breed like bunnies.
I guess, but there's quite a few of them. I don't know.
I just, well, like I said before, if you really pick apart a lot of the fantasy tropes, they like the world is ending. Well, let's send this 15-year-old out.
I love though. That's why like Cordelia's stuff works, because she's coming into the library and it's like, oh, is the world ending? Because then I'm not doing this essay. Like it's due tomorrow. But like, because if that's happening, like I'm not wasting time doing research. Like it's gonna be pointless. And she is. I might as well just note that she is the actress who has been the most vocal since the beginning about. I just shook my camera about Joss Whedon and that whole atmosphere about being mistreated and all that. Cordelia is that actress.
He mistreats his women.
Yeah, is what we've learned retroactively. Yeah,
and there's a whole other discussion where how much do you cancel a show because the creator or the actor is not,
up to your standards. Yeah,
up to your standards. And I'd point out that are you going to not enjoy Wagner, which is some of the most sublime music written by one of the worst people ever born?
Yeah, there's some. Yeah,
there's a lot of really good creative people out there who are not good people.
No, it's very true. And I mean, to me, all of the people that are currently high up in entertainment are. From my investigation, most of them.
Would I be able to go back and watch The Cosby Show with a straight face? How about any of Al Franken's brilliant work on Saturday Night Live?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about, so I would say there's a thing where we have to separate. We should not, of course, let them continue with their abusive behavior. And they should definitely pay for, they should definitely experience the consequences of their abusive behavior. But once the art is out there in the world, perhaps we can separate the art from the artist and go, okay, this is a great piece of art. And just as an interesting point, the guy who wrote that beautiful mass found his wife in bed with her lover and shot both of them. As anybody who, that's a medieval composer. But since he was a nobleman, he was able to get away with a slap on the wrist. And you've been a bad boy. Don't do that again.
Oh yeah, of course. That still happens, in the current climate, justice climate.
But let's continue with, what can you wrap us up with here, Monia?
Because this is the other episode that I suggested that would go well with this one, is Normal Again, where the whole thing is that she gets stung by a demon and starts to imagine that she's waking up in an asylum and like everything in Sunnydale was made up.
Oh, and she was just imagining that she was a vampire slayer, but vampire slayer didn't really happen.
Yeah. So then you have this whole thing of like, there could be this actual reality, but then there's that fiction. So it's like a hard thing of like, this isn't real. So if someone is like, but also, what if there are vampires?
There's a lot of the spirit, because a lot of the spiritual, that's one advantage that business cults and psychology cults and cults that don't have any spiritual whatever on them, or destructive cults that don't have any spiritual pretense, is that they don't have that easily proven unreality.
Yeah.
That the world is going to end in 1975, or the world is going to end in 2000, or I believe 2032 now, the JWs are saying.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's multiple other groups that are 100% certain about other dates, though. Like maybe tomorrow,
Mhm,
even. I'm not sure.
mhm. Oh yeah. Well, there was all there,
If
but
this gets
also
posted,
that
I
the
was wrong. They were wrong about tomorrow because that means
yeah,
that enough
but
time.
there's also the people who believe that I was just watching a true crime thing about and these were on fringe Mormons,
Hmm.
and she believed that her children were dark spirits, and so she killed them.
Well, there was a man recently who
Who did
killed his
that? Yeah,
children. Yeah.
yeah, that was in Q, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because his wife's serpent DNA had, was
Yeah.
in the children. Yeah.
So that there is within the spiritually run, there is this sense of
Hmm.
evil versus good and needing to do bad stuff in order to fight the bad. And I would say that even if magic exists, I'm gonna grab a quote from Cousin Jesus. By their works you shall know them. That is, if they're acting nasty,
Oh, okay.
if they're being awful, if they're doing bad stuff, it doesn't matter for what reason. Bad stuff is bad stuff is bad stuff is bad stuff. And if you are sacrificing a virgin, killing somebody to bring about something good, you're still a bad person.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
still
That's
bad. So
that is a
if
really,
you believe that ends do not justify means, even when magic is real.
yeah. I think maybe as well. I wonder if part of Buffy, I think that's a really good one because it's like I hadn't even thought about how the council was so authoritarian, in the control
Yes.
that it exhibits. And like presumably if the Slayer who came from Jamaica was part of like a training camp, then they probably have training camps all over. Like you could probably go to an alternate universe where it's like this is a Slayer training camp, in
Mhm,
Russia. I don't
mhm.
know.
Where,
Um,
like you said, for that wonderful, very egalitarian, where anyone who can stand should be doing it.
yes, yeah.
Because to my mind, secrecy and non-transparency is going to breed abuse.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if vampires really exist, you shouldn't be holding that back from the rest of the world.
No, exactly. And there's definitely a lot of yeah, it's very, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very much like does this justify the means, for sure. And they do explore that a bit, but you never really think about, I think it shows very flawed characters and what happens when you're really
Though, of
so.
course, once again, flawed characters are a hell of a lot more entertaining than psychologically healthy people.
Yes, exactly. But you have to remember that, I think, and not get
But
too
life is not
enamored.
entertainment.
Yeah, because once you get too enamored with it, that's when you're like,
Mhm.
and,
Well, it's
and I
like
know that
one
feeling.
one of my hobby horses that I'll trot out briefly here is that a lot of people think that because in a comedy people are saying cruel things to each other, that's not friendship. The friendship that you see on Friends, on Big Bang Theory, where they say these cruel, horrible, biting things to each other that are verbal abuse.
Yeah.
That's a show. That's said because it's funny only when it's not a real blood and flesh and real honest to goodness person with feelings on the receiving end of those horrible things.
Mm-hmm,
Things like the Drew Carey show and all the horrible insults that Drew Carey and his female coworker shot back and forth.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In a healthy
So
office.
like The Office. The Office is
Yeah.
like awful. Everything, and I never watched The Office.
Mhm.
No offense, fans, but I do know a lot of people are so in love with The Office. I'm just like, this is like every bad thing about office culture, and not.
It's funny as hell, but only because it's a show.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we've got to remember when we're cutting apart these things, is that of course it's unhealthy because it's created for drama.
Yeah. And I think if we're going back,
or we don't want to be that way in real life.
yeah, yeah. I think one of the things as well, and I don't know if this might be too spicy, I don't know, but if we're thinking back to, can we still enjoy things, and I'm not talking about forgiving people, because
no, but
unless first of all, I don't think it's our job to forgive people that haven't done something to us specifically, because it's not like how, like, it's not. Yeah, it just doesn't really work that way. But if you can look at a show like this, like, a lot of people love Spike. Spike, to me, has experienced too many #problematic things in the show for him to be redeemable at all. Like, to me, I'm like, he's not redeemable. I don't like him.
Neither is Angel, for creeping on a 15-year-old.
So see, that's the thing. So to me, Angel is redeemable. And I'm sure that there's people for whom Willow is not like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all of these things. And I'm like, so if you can see how a character can grow throughout and then fall back and have things like, despite shows existing about, addicts and, like how hard life is, people haven't gained more empathy. It's very strange. Like,
bringing back to Buffy, these old middle-aged men have the right of life and death over this teenage girl who's dressed in very tight gym stuff, doing all sorts of. That's why I say it's a male fantasy.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Well, that's like a graphic. Well, first of all, I will say, then I also feel like Buffy can be used as a way of saying, like, just because something on the surface looks like it's,
well, that's true,
empowering, necessarily, you can always look at layers and see, like,
Nixium was supposed to be a women's empowerment group.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of women, because I'm like a person who criticizes makeup a lot, and then you'll get the women that feel targeted by that. And it's like, I'm not attacking you. I'm talking about the institution. Everything that's building up, like, who's making this money, who's the people advertising this, like,
and
all of that.
How much of your disposable income are you spending on having to look acceptable? That was one of the things that I was hoping was going to come out of this pandemic, was enough women would stay at home without bras, without makeup, that we would actually start to realize that we did not actually need them to look acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, instead there was a lot of targeted, like, keep during the pandemic.
The new commercials are all for get your teeth aligned. And now there's I'm getting a lot of commercials for comfortable bras.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but the athletic tank top is probably the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Champion jog bras, local Vermont company. Made by women for women. Yeah, Wally and I enjoyed watching it, but there were a lot of questions as to why this girl was being made to fight all these vampires all on her little own lonesome, especially when you see Giles is quite capable of staking somebody.
Yeah. I mean, they're already, and what's interesting is that they're already way more codependent than any other Slayer, because she has her friends that are helping her, and they'll go patrol with her.
Usually they don't have any friends whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah. But she's like, my friendships make me strong. That's what she says.
Authoritarian groups isolate. They have their secrets, so you can't tell anybody any information, so they have their information control. You can't leave them. These are all checking out.
Yeah.
Buffy is in chains.
Yeah.
Release Buffy!
Well, and this is what I was going to say, which is also a big spoiler, is that she actually, so when I said earlier, is like, oh, she lives for, 5 seasons. The show has 7 seasons. She is in those seasons, because what happens is, in season 5, it is come to the conclusion that the only way that whatever she can save the world is by sacrificing her sister who's like not real, but it's like a long story because of their blood or whatever. So she's like, I won't do that to her, but she's like, but I can sacrifice myself. So she sacrifices herself and dies, and like dies. Like she's buried. There's a graveyard and everything. But her friends are so distraught that she's gone that they bring her back from the dead.
As you do.
Yeah, so she has to show, and what I quite like about the show is that they're not treating it like it's just like now she's alive again. She is experiencing some serious trauma where she's like, I did not choose this. Like, she's like, you just pulled me into. So it's like, can she even escape? She dies and they're like, no.
How freaking dysfunctional.
I mean, I love this show, but also like it's fucked up,
Dysfunctional. Very dysfunctional. I mean, talk about having
codependence.
Well, yeah, but also talk about, being control of your body. Mm-hmm. Not being brought back to life after being, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's very
vampires. That's
it's very so it definitely colors the tone of the later seasons because there is a lot of the heaviness and like, which I do like that it's not just like, oh, I love the world. It's like, no, she's like, I was literally dead. Like,
is not so sunny. It's like that one episode of South Park where we find out that Kenny is actually conscious of all the times that he's gotten.
Oh, yeah, that's dark.
That's very dark. Oh my God, they killed Kenny. You bastards. Yeah. So I think is there anything else you'd like to cover on this episode?
I feel like I've held you hostage for long enough.
No, you have not held me hostage. I have been fascinated by all of this. And I think we have proved that Buffy's group, the
Scooby Gang.
Yeah, the Scooby Gang and the Watch and the Council.
Oh, the Councilman. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
5 out of 5 buttholes, as they say on Reddit.
There you go.
Am I the butthole? I keep this teenage girl around to kill vampires.
It's for the good of society,
Yeah.
Sacrifice and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, any case, I'm Spike Robinson. This is my friend and co-host Monia, and we've talked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, episode 12, season 3.
Yeah.
Helpless, and go check it out. Let us know if you want to see any other Buffy episodes or anything else too. And at some point we'll probably look into various other geeky things. We've been talking Harry Potter and Narnia, and I'll try to get Monia into Discworld at some point.
I've got some Veronica Mars on my list and cult movies. Yeah, we've got some variety.
We'll do anything but Twilight. Any case, so this is the Culty Geek. Thank you very much for tuning in. Leave your comments, like, share, subscribe, click the little bell icon, send us money, and all of that. Y'all have a great day now.
Hi, John here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much.
Sunny there.
I know, I love it.